When I was 9 years old, I convinced my parents to let me go to summer camp for 8 weeks. My parents were skeptical, but I couldn't wait to get there. I'd read lots of novels set at summer camps on wooded lakes, and it sounded like so much fun. Before I left, my mother helped me pack a suitcase full of shorts, sandals, swimsuits, towels, and books. Lots and lots and lots of books. This made perfect sense to us. Reading was a group activity in our family. At night and on weekends, my parents, siblings, and I would all sit around the living room and disappear into our novels. There wasn't much talking. Each of us would follow our own fictional adventures. But in our way, we were sharing this time together. So when my mother packed me all those novels, I pictured the same kind of experience at camp, only better. I could see myself and all my new friends in our cabin, 10 girls in matching nightgowns reading together happily. But I was in for a big surprise. Summer camp turned out to be the exact opposite of quiet time with my family. It was more like one long, raucous birthday party, and I couldn't even phone my parents to take me home. On the very first day of camp, our counselor gathered us together. In the name of camp spirit, she said, she would demonstrate a cheer that we were to perform every day for the rest of the summer. Pumping her arms at her sides as if she were jogging, the counselor chanted, R-O-W-D-I-E. That's the way we spell rowdy. Rowdy, rowdy, let's get rowdy. She finished with both her hands up, palms out, and a huge smile on her face. Okay, this was not what I was expecting. I was already excited to be at camp. Why the need to be so outwardly rowdy? And why did we have to spell this word incorrectly? I wasn't sure what to think. Gamely, I performed the cheer, and then found some downtime to pull out one of my books and start reading. Later that week, though, the coolest girl in the bunk asked me why I was always reading and why I was so mellow. Mellow being the opposite of R-O-W-D-I-E. I looked down at the book in my hand, then around the bunk. No one else was sitting by herself reading. They were all laughing and playing hand games or running around in the grass outside with kids from other bunks. So I closed my book and put it away, along with all the others, in my suitcase. I felt guilty as I tucked the books under my bed, as if they needed me and I was letting them down. For the rest of the summer, I shouted out the rowdy cheer with as much enthusiasm as I could muster. Every day I pumped my arms and smiled wide, doing my best approximation of a lively, gregarious camper. And when camp was over, and I finally reunited with my books, something felt different. It felt as if, at school, and even with my friends, that pressure to be rowdy still loomed large. In elementary school, I'd known everyone since kindergarten. I knew I was shy deep down, but I felt very comfortable and had even starred in the school play one year. Everything changed in middle school, though, when I switched to a new school system where I didn't know anyone. I was the new kid in a sea of chattering strangers. My mom would drive me to school, because being on a bus with dozens of other kids was too overwhelming. The doors to the school stayed locked until the first bell, and when I arrived early, I'd have to wait outside in the parking lot, where groups of friends huddled together. They all seemed to know one another, and to feel totally at ease. For me, that parking lot was a straight-up nightmare. Eventually, the bell would ring and we'd rush inside. The hallways were even more chaotic than the parking lot. Kids hurried in every direction, pounding down the hall like they owned the place, and groups of girls and boys traded stories and laughed secretively. I'd look up at a vaguely familiar face, wonder if I should say hello, and then move on without speaking. But the cafeteria scene at lunchtime made the hallways look like a dream. The voices of hundreds of kids bounced off the massive cinder block walls. The room was arranged in rows of long, skinny tables, and a laughing, gabbing clique sat at each one. Everyone split off into groups. The shiny, popular girls here, the athletic boys there, the nerdy types over to the side. I could barely think straight, let alone smile and chat in the easygoing way that everyone else seemed to manage. Does this setting sound familiar? It's such a common experience. Meet Davis, a thoughtful and shy guy who found himself in a similar situation on the first day of 6th grade. As one of the few Asian American kids at a mostly white school, he was also made uncomfortably aware that other students thought he looked different. He was so nervous that he barely remembered to exhale until he arrived in homeroom, where everyone gradually settled down. Finally, he could just sit and think. The rest of the day went on similarly. He barely navigated his way through the crowded cafeteria, feeling relieved only during quiet moments in the classroom. By the time the bell rang at 3:30 p.m., he was exhausted. He had made it through the first day of 6th grade alive, though not without somebody throwing gum into his hair on the bus ride home. As far as he could tell, everyone seemed thrilled to be back again the next morning. Everyone except Davis.